Good evening, National Baptist. Good evening, good evening, good evening. National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated. Welcome to our November NBCUSA Hope Health webinar. Y'all know the title, Temple Care Matters. And care of this temple does truly matter. All right. We acknowledge our leadership, our national leadership tonight. Dr. Jerry Young is our president. Dr. Alvin Edwards, our general secretary. Dr. Alvin Love is our chair of federal faith-based development initiatives. And Dr. Michael O. Minor is our national director of the NBCUSA Liaison to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Again, good evening. This is our November Temple Care Matters webinar. And tonight we're going to share the November suggested health observances, and there are several. First, there's Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, and National Caregiver Month. And I'm excited about hearing about all these topics, but particularly caregiving, because I am a caregiver. I am a caregiver for my elderly aunt. Third, Diabetes Awareness Month. The fourth one for this month is the American Cancer Society Great American Smokeout, which is going to be held on November the 16th. And then Pancreatic Purple Light Sunday, which is Sunday, November 19th. So we will place a special emphasis on caregivers tonight. We will also have an update on the Affordable Care Act 2024 Open Enrollment Faith Week of Action. We'll include our monthly Let's Move update, Let's Move, with some breaking news. And finally, we'll share about upcoming mental health first aid training sessions. Guys, I am excited about this opportunity. All right, this evening's webinar is supported by funding from the National Institutes of Health All of Us Research Program. And as you can see on the screen, there is our logo along with all of us. And we want you to join our NBCUSA Hope team in becoming one of a million in one of our nation's most robust research studies. To learn more, you can go to our website, which is in conjunction with all of us. It's www.joinallofus.org/NBCUSA. Again, that's www.joinallofus.org/NBCUSA. Please go to All of Us via that particular website. That way you are connected to the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated when you go there. It's tracked that way. All right. Again, www.joinallofus.org/NBCUSA. Excuse me, this webinar is the latest in a series of first Tuesday in the month, Temple Care Matters webinars that have evolved into hybrid events with virtual and in-person watch gatherings in our local NBCUSA congregations. We'll talk briefly a little bit about COVID-19, the endemic that we are experiencing right now. According to Reuters, over 15 million people in the United States, Reuters, over 15 million people in the United States, around 4.5% of the population, had received the updated COVID-19 shots by October 27th, a Department of Health and Human Services spokesperson said last week, lagging behind last year's vaccination numbers. Close to 23 million people had received updated boosters as of October 26th last year. U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention data shows the 2022 fall vaccination campaign started around 10 days earlier than this year's. As of October 27th, more than 15 million Americans have received the updated COVID-19 vaccine, and over 19 million vaccines have been shipped to pharmacies and other locations, with 91% of Americans 12 years and older living within a 5-mile radius of the vaccination site, or within 5 miles of a vaccination site, the spokesperson said in an emailed statement. The updated shots from Pfizer and BioNTech, Moderna, or Novavax are single target vaccinations aimed at the XBB 1.5 Omicron subvariant of the coronavirus, which was dominant in the United States for much of this year, but has since been overtaken by other variants as the virus evolves. That's just your COVID-19 update. We know that we may not be in a pandemic anymore, but we're certainly in an endemic, and we want to stay aware of what's going on in our surroundings. And we encourage people to get vaccinated if they have not done so. All right, let's talk a little bit about our health observances. November, as we mentioned a moment ago, is National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. Excuse me. Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia. It is a progressive disease beginning with mild memory loss and possibly leading to loss of the ability to carry on a conversation and respond to the environment. Alzheimer's disease involves parts of the brain that control thought, memory, and language. It can seriously affect a person's ability to carry out daily activities. Now, let's turn to this evening's feature, National Caregiver Month. Whether it's Alzheimer's, breast cancer, or some other sickness, we too often forget the caregiver. This evening, we'll take time to delve into the importance and special concerns for caregivers. Our team member, Sister Bettina Campbell, will lead us in a special discussion about caregivers with our special guest panelists. Sister Bettina, take it away. It's in your hands.
Good evening, and thank you, Sister Minor. Let me begin this part of this evening's webinar by introducing one of our special panelists. And it's Patricia Thornton, is the co-occurring coordinator for community counseling services. She's a certified addiction therapist and also a certified mental health therapist. She has worked with individuals with co-occurring disorders in a professional capacity for over 17 years. During this time, she has provided direct care at a therapeutic group home for adolescent females and served as a therapist, an assistant director, and the director of the Tiny and Katie Hill Recovery Center before transitioning to her role as the first co-occurring disorder specialist in Mississippi. She has served in this role for 9 years at the Community Counseling Service, where she provides training and support that ensures the integration of traditional mental health and substance use disorders. Welcome, Pat. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation to spend a little time with y'all this evening. I hate to hear those little bios. It sounds terrible when you say it out loud.
No, no way. You've accomplished a lot.
Well, I have certainly been in a role where I have had to learn some self-care over the years. And so that's one of the things that gives me the opportunity to talk to you this evening. I do have a PowerPoint to share with you all, but I will tell you, I'm going to move pretty quickly through that as we go along. And it started, of course, in the middle of that, but we're going to get it going. So self-care is what I'm here to talk to y'all about this evening. And as I said before, I'm a caregiver myself by profession. That's something that actually is a part of my self-care plan. But I do remember a time that it backfired on me. And all of the time that I spent caring for other people was taken away from myself, and I was not doing very well during that time. So I've had to learn to balance those things over the years. So what I want to talk to y'all about this evening is kind of what is self-care and what that means, and then how are we going to practice it. And so the first thing is, what is self-care? Of course, we just need to learn to say no and take a hot bubble bath, right? So we can be done for this evening, and that's the end of story, right? Obviously, that is not the case. I think a lot of times when we think about self care, we think about, oh, yeah, I'm going to go make an appointment to go get my nails done or get my hair done. And those things are fantastic, but they don't always lead us to the self care that we're looking for. So Henry David Thoreau tells us that I took a walk in the woods and came out taller than the trees. So I noticed in that quote that he didn't come out equal with the trees. He didn't just survive getting through. He came out taller than the trees. And so what that tells me is there was something about that experience that made him grow inside. And so I want to talk a little bit about what we can do to help ourselves in that situation. So, how do we define it? What are those definitions? I know that you all probably knew that before we came in today. And a basic definition of self care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. That's the thing that we know about. But the second definition gives a little bit more of a idea of what I want to talk about today, which is the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. And that's what stands out to me when I hear the word caregiver is generally it creates a stressful situation where our bodies are taking more wear and tear than they normally would be. But along with our bodies, our spirit, our emotional well being is also taking a toll. And so we want to take an active role in being able to protect those things. Um, so are we surviving or are we thriving? You know, what do we need to survive? We need food, water, oxygen, some of those basic things. But in order to thrive and really get to where we would like to be, we need things like connection, purpose. For me, it's grace, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But are what are the things in your life that bring color to your life, that bring excitement and dimension? What are the things that ignite your soul when you experience those things? And for me, honestly, those things are different on different days depending on what I'm going through. So one of the first things that we can do, and I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself, but one of the first things we can do is just check in with ourselves and create that space in each day to take a look at how we feel and what our needs are right then. I think we get so focused on taking care of other people, taking care of other situations, that we put ourselves on the back burner. And for a lot of us, that comes with some different dynamics too, because again, we're talking about caregivers. So, where are my people in in the audience that are also they're the person that always volunteers for that extra thing, or if somebody needs something, they're always there and they're always in service. I feel like I'm talking to a lot of those people this evening. So, what is it that we're going to need to do to be able to stop and take a look at what we need in addition to what other folks might need? And if you're one of those people like me that are motivated really by being able to be there and support other people, then you really want to preserve that gift, right? And being able to take care of yourself first. We've all heard the story about when we get in the airplane, putting our oxygen mask on first. Um, and I think that that is a good analogy to look at what we need to do, because if we're not able to do those things, we're not going to be able to, for me, reach that purpose, which is going to allow me to thrive in life as opposed to just surviving. I get a little bit into the psychology mumbo jumbo with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but forget all of that. Just look at that triangle above and look at those things that we really need in order to move towards that self actualization, right? The survival part is those physiological needs, Um, but then we want to, if we want to experience those things that, like I said, give dimension to life, for me, that involves some of the things up above, that sense of connection. For me, that purpose and the grace to not always be taking care of somebody else, right? So Brene Brown is a fantastic social worker, I think is her profession. And she says to talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love. And this is where that part about grace stands out. And if you can't tell, I've been working real hard on giving myself grace. Um, and thinking about how I might respond if somebody said some of the things that I say to myself in my own head to a friend of mine. I would quickly come to their side and speak up for them, right? But for myself, I don't always do those things. So I need to look at doing those things just a little bit more. Um, I see. Brother Minor, you have a hand raised. Does this mean I need to shut up? Or do I have a question?
No, we just want to say it was just said an amen. You're doing a good job.
All right. Well, that works well for me. So, we really want to be careful of that internal dialogue. And I'm not going to get too far in the weeds with this one on you, but I want to remind you that that self-talk for a lot of us is a mix of conscious and unconscious beliefs. So some of those things are just under the current guiding our behavior. Like for me, being a Southern woman, I was taught that I need to take care of the people around me, specifically the men. No, no harm. I don't mean any harm when I say that, but that's what I was taught. And so I have to stop and check, am I able to do those things as well as take care of other people? And to be able to do that, I want to have a balance of those things. So it leads me to question what are some of those unconscious beliefs that are driving me to feel the need to do certain things. I know that most uh, self-care conversations talk about boundaries, and yes, we absolutely need to put boundaries in our life. Um, but I would also encourage you to do some more of these things and setting boundaries with yourself that no, I'm no longer going to speak to myself in a manner that I wouldn't speak to someone else. And the last thing that I'll mention before I move from this slide is put the and and the but in your sentence, right? So we think about those negative things. I didn't do well. I didn't do well on my exam, but I can do better next time. I need to finish that thought all the way out. Miss Lena Horne says that it's not the load that breaks you down; it's the way you carry it. And I think that it's probably public knowledge that there is lots of research and evidence that shows us that our caregivers do in a lot of situations have worse outcomes than other people because they are focused on that other person. But Dr. Gabor Mate, he's one of my favorite gurus these days. He says that connection and that support is what keeps traumatic things from creating a long-term history of trauma. So it's not so much the stress that we experience, but the support that we get along the way while we are carrying it. And so this is my time to remind you to allow someone else to take care of you. Um, I did that for somebody at one point, and I remember them telling me, "No, no, please," and I finally I said, hold on. Don't stop me from my blessing, right? And so I'll pass that along to some of the rest of you who are saying, no, I can't accept help from somebody else, is they may need that for their own self-care. So who are you to stand in the way of their blessing? So the just to wrap up, these are I wanted to put some activities on the board because some people are where the rubber meets the road kind of folks, and you want to know what are some specific things that I can do. And I won't read this whole list to you in the interest of time, but I'll highlight just a couple of them. Um, one of them is to keep a journal, even if it's just a scrap piece of paper. For me, one of the most wonderful and terrible inventions that we have ever gotten are these phones, right? But I find in my phone a notes application, and that works beautifully for me to take just a minute and jot a few things down. And it's password protected, so I don't have to worry about somebody reading it like my sister did when we were kids. So I know I can be honest in what I say. But just creating that time for yourself is important. Um, Allowing someone to do something for you, already mentioned that, but resist that self criticism and just remind yourself that perhaps you're doing the best that you can. I mentioned earlier that our needs change on a daily basis. So there are some days that I'm doing my journal, I'm keeping my gratitude list, I'm checking in multiple times a day to see how I'm feeling. But then there are other days that are just downright stressful, right? And I'm doing my best just to survive. I might need to remind myself of that instead of telling myself, "Oh, you have so much to do, that you have so much you've not gotten to." Just I'm doing the best that I can with what I have to work with. So sometimes we have to really give ourselves that grace to not be perfect. Holidays are coming up, so I wanted to throw a few of those things out there. And right out of the gate, we need to make sure that we're setting realistic expectations. I think for me anyway, I think of some of the magical times that I had as a child, and I try to recreate those. And when things are not perfect, here we hear that word again. Then I go back to that negative self-talk and tell myself that it means something about me when I'm not doing things the way that I had it planned out in my mind. And so that speaks to number three, which is enjoy when things don't go as planned. When we burn the turkey and end up at the here in Columbus, the Peking restaurant because they're the only ones that are open on Christmas. When those things happen, just enjoy it, embrace it, and realize that that will be a memory for somebody else, just like some of those perfectionist memories are for you. Um, One of the other ones, and I have to mention this with my history in substance abuse and mental health, which is to eat and drink in moderation, but to specifically not drink alcohol if you're feeling down. Christmas or the holidays, not just Christmas, but those holidays are not always wonderful for people. So we do need to make room for those uncomfortable feelings like grief that creep in, and we're allowed to tend to our needs along the way. And lastly, I just want to say that we would reflect on our reason for the season. And for a lot of you personally, I feel sure that if I ask you, your answer would not be the reason is to have a perfect spread for your family or whatever. You would say something else, and it would probably come back to those people that you're trying to take care of and wanting to be there for them and with them. So, with that, thank you so very much for letting me spend a little time with you today. And on your screen is a phone number and email if there's something I can do to support you along the way. And Miss Bettina, if we have time, if we need questions, I can do that. If we need to move along, I'm good with that too.
Well, we usually save the questions for the end, so we'll do it that way, and then we open up and let people ask questions. So thank you so much. It's been very enlightening, and I'm sure you've helped not only me but some other people, because I need reminding constantly to take care of me. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was absolutely wonderful. Lot of great information. Thank you so much, Sister Bettina and Miss Thornton. That was really helpful. We've got to move on. However, like Sister Bettina just said, we will address more questions regarding caregivers and self-care during our Q&A section later on this evening. So thank you again, Sister Bettina and Miss Thornton. Great job. All right, so although Alzheimer's affects approximately 1 in every 2 families in the United States, there's still quite a bit of information about Alzheimer's that you might not be aware of. Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. I got to say that one again because so many people think that everybody gets it. Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. Alzheimer's worsens over time, and Alzheimer's has no current cure, but treatments for symptoms are available and research does continue. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. On November 1st, open enrollment 2024 for the Affordable Care Act began. This week is a National Faith Action Week for the ACA outreach and education. Tonight, we are fortunate and excited to have one of our team members from our ACA team to share about this year's open enrollment. Dr. Marion Talley, Reverend Dr. Marion Talley, is not only one of our team members here, but she's also one of our team members with the work that we do for the ACA. She is a certified navigator in the state of Mississippi for the Affordable Care Act. The Reverend Dr. Marion Talley has been an ordained Baptist minister since September of 1991. She is an associate minister at the Ferry Street Baptist Church in Jackson, Mississippi, where she serves as assistant to the pastor, former superintendent of Sunday school, prayer meeting facilitator, and Bible study teacher. She also served as regional coordinator for the faith-based consortium for after-school programs and is a certified navigator and director of Metro Jackson office of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which is with Oak Hill Missionary Baptist Church Ministries with Oak Hill Regional CDC, Oak Hill Regional Community Development Corporation / Get Covered Mississippi. So Dr. Talley has been so many things throughout her career: resource person, Bible teacher, speaker for the California State Youth Convention, discussion leader for Mississippi State General Baptist Convention. She's has served as chaplain of the Boston Medical Center in Boston, Massachusetts, and in churches in California, from California to Massachusetts, as director of youth department, adult Sunday school teacher, Bible study teacher, prayer meeting facilitator. The list goes on. She is an accomplished preacher, teacher, professional, who serves with tenacity and energy. She attended Tuskegee Institute, where she received her BS from Memphis State University in education with a concentration in biology and chemistry, and a master's and PhD degree from Claremont Graduate Studies with emphasis in macro systems designs, curriculum and instruction, statistics, and multicultural education. Y'all, she is a teacher and a preacher. Did I say that already? All right. Dr. Talley has taught in public schools at all levels, from preschool to college, and has served as a school administrator at the school and district level. She served as district evaluator for testing, as a coordinator of instructional services for Alvin Unified School District, consultant to the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, and consultant to the College of Osteopathic Medicine. She has also served as academic dean of Russ College and vice president for academic affairs at Mary Holmes College. She's accomplished as a writer. She's a member also of Church Women United, Pi Lambda Theta, Phi Beta Kappa, and many, many other organizations. Dr. Talley, Last thing I'll say, your favorite scripture where you get inspiration from, I believe you say it's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Good evening, Dr. Tally. It is in your hands.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much. I'm going to go on. I'm not going to even mention the fact that you we're supposed to be reading all of that.
I skipped a lot of it. But you are very accomplished.
All right, then. Let's begin then by answering the question, what is the Affordable Care Act? The Affordable Care Act that we normally refer to as the ACA is a comprehensive health care reform law that was first enacted under President Barack Obama in 2010. The implementation of the ACA represented the largest set of tax law changes in decades. The ACA then was amended in 2010, and that amendment comprises the most significant set of regulatory changes in the U.S. healthcare system since the enactment of Medicare and Medicaid in 1965. So, and with its far-reaching implications for both individuals and employers. Let us now look at a video on 5 things about the Affordable Care Act, and hopefully I can get it to come on. Okay. All right, just a minute. I have to do this.
Signed into law in March 2010,
I'm going to have to play it in this manner.
Signed into law in March 2010, the Affordable Care Act benefits all Americans, increasing access to quality, affordable health insurance and providing rights and protections that make health coverage more fair and easy to understand. The increased access to insurance options helps narrow geographic, economic, and racial disparities in healthcare coverage. Here are 5 things to know about the Affordable Care Act, also known as the ACA. First, the ACA produced widespread gains in health coverage. Over 20 million people gained insurance, including individuals who can stay on their parents' plan until they're 26. Second, the Affordable Care Act protects Americans with pre-existing conditions like cancer, asthma, or diabetes. Insurance companies can't deny coverage based on a person's medical history or health status. The law also prevents insurers from setting annual or lifetime limits on spending. Third, the ACA focuses on preventive care. It ensures that most insurance plans fully cover the cost for certain recommended preventive services. Colonoscopies, mammograms, well child visits, and flu shots, for example, are provided at no cost to the patient thanks to the ACA. Fourth, the ACA improves health care for women and children. The law prevents insurers from charging women higher premiums than men and requires insurers to cover maternity care, breastfeeding support, birth control, and other services critical to the health of women and children. And Medicaid expanded to include millions of low-income individuals and families who did not previously qualify for coverage. Fifth, the Affordable Care Act is better than ever. Coverage options are increasing, and costs are decreasing. President Biden's economic stimulus package, the American Rescue Plan, ensures that many people who enroll in health coverage through healthcare.gov will qualify to save money on plans that meet their needs. Many premiums will decrease on average by $50 per person per month, and $85 per policy per month. 4 in 5 consumers will be able to find a plan for $10 or less. For more information or to sign up for affordable coverage, visit healthcare.gov.
Now, the first thing that we want you to know would be the key dates for when the open enrollment is set up. And of course, it started November the 1st in 2023, and open enrollment started for this year. And it will end on January the 15th of 2024. Now, anyone who has coverage this year, the 2023 coverage, your coverage will end on December the 31st, because those individuals who are getting coverage for next year, 2024, their coverage will start on January the 1st if you sign up for your policy by December the 15th. Now, I know I said throughout a whole lot of stuff there, so we'll be going through that and so that you can kind of get those dates straight. States then have either implemented a state-run health insurance exchange, or they have let the federal government run the health insurance exchange for them. Some states have taken a variation on the approach by partnering with another state or the federal government. But no matter what approach your state took, the way you shop for insurance is the same. Sometimes health insurance exchanges are called health insurance marketplace. Now, the official health insurance marketplace for states that are not running their own exchange, we term that the healthcare.gov, www.healthcare.gov is how you get to that. If, though, you're in a state and you have a state-specific health insurance marketplace, then each of them will have their own unique name. And you can check out the list of those in your state marketplace. And if your state also has a state-based marketplace, then the opening enrollment dates and so forth may differ from those from the national dates. But now, let us focus then on open enrollment. The first thing I would like you to know is that the American Rescue Plan that was signed by President Biden in 2021 has made health coverage even more affordable and accessible than ever through the marketplace. The American Rescue Plan expanded the availability of financial assistance for coverage through the marketplace, making financial assistance available to more consumers and at greater levels. And thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, these benefits will continue through 2025. Now, the second thing I'd like to emphasize is that health insurance is now more affordable because of that, because of the American Rescue Plan, and it is providing then for this extra financial assistance, and it will significantly lower your policy premiums. We know that health insurance is expensive and can be hard to afford for people with lower or moderate incomes, particularly if they are not offered health benefits at work. But in response, the Affordable Care Act provides for a sliding scale subsidies to lower premiums and out-of-pocket costs for eligible individuals. Now, to get assistance under the Affordable Care Act, you generally must earn between 100 to 400% of the poverty level. For 2023, that is $14,580 to $58,320 for an individual, and $30,000 to $120,000 for a family of 4. But now, with this said, things will work a little differently until 2025. The 400% poverty level subsidy was temporarily removed by the president with the American Rescue Plan and extended through 2025 by the Inflation Reduction Act. That means that there is no upper level, that 2,400% then has taken off, and that tax credits will gradually decrease as your taxable income then rises. Now, if you have looked then for health coverage before and thought it was too expensive, it is now worth a second look, in part as a result of the Inflation Reduction Act. Millions more people will qualify for tax incentives that will lower their premiums. 4 in 5 healthcare.gov customers will be able to find healthcare coverage for $10 or less per month after the newly expanded financial assistance. And it is estimated that there are about 4.5 million Americans can sign up for health insurance with no premiums after subsidies. Now, there are 3 types of financial assistance available to marketplace enrollees. The first type is called the premium tax credit, and it works to reduce enrollees' monthly payment for insurance coverage. The second type of financial assistance is called cost sharing reduction, and it is designed to minimize enrollees' out-of-pocket cost when they go to the doctor or have a hospital stay. Now, to receive either type of financial assistance, qualifying individuals and families must enroll in a plan offered through the health insurance marketplace. Now, the premium tax credit reduces enrollees' monthly payments for insurance plans purchased through the marketplace. And we know that marketplace plans are offered in 4 metal levels of coverage. That is, you can get a bronze, a silver, a gold, or platinum level plan. And the premium tax credit then can be applied to plans in any of these metal levels. But people who are eligible to receive a premium tax credit and have household incomes from 100% to 250% of poverty are eligible also for cost sharing reductions. But unlike the premium tax credit, which can be applied into any policy at any one of the metal levels, cost sharing reductions are only offered through silver plans. Then the third financial assistance is expanded Medicaid. Now, when the Affordable Care Act was enacted in 2010, it called for a nationwide expansion of Medicaid for adults with low income starting in 2014. There was never supposed to be a coverage gap. That is, individuals who could not afford the health insurance on the marketplace then were supposed to have health insurance through expanded Medicaid. But that did not happen. There is a coverage gap, and it exists in 11 states because of their legislatures' refusal to expand Medicaid, even though it would be funded almost entirely by the federal government. Now, there are more than 2 million Americans then in the coverage gap. And there are more than 2 million Americans in the coverage gap, as we said, in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kansas, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Now, the third thing that we want to look at is the fact that there are quality plans in the marketplace. There are quality, comprehensive health plans that offer doctor visits, emergency care, behavioral health care, preventive care, hospital care, and preventive drugs, and from many different companies. But none of the insurance plans on the marketplace can reject you, can charge you more or refuse to pay for essential health benefits for any condition you had before your coverage started. All health plans offered on the marketplace must cover a comprehensive set of benefits, including physician visits, preventive care, hospital stays, and prescription. Plans must also treat everyone fairly. All plans on the marketplace then cover treatment for pre-existing medical conditions. And so that's where we get then the 10 essential benefits. And as you can see, in maternity care, rehabilitative and habitative services, pediatric services, mental and behavioral health treatment, preventive and wellness services, ambulatory patient service, prescription drugs, laboratory, hospitalization, and emergencies service. Those mental and health substance use disorder services include behavioral health treatment, and this includes both counseling and psychotherapy. Now, but what are the major differences? Have you seen those signs on the side of the road and around that say Obamacare plans? Well, one of our Mississippi navigators said that she was looking at the plan, that it was clear, and she went and she called that number, and that the salesperson was selling something that was totally different from the marketplace plan. But what then are those differences? Well, let's look at what some of those so-called cheap health insurance plan alternatives are. First, could you be denied coverage for having a pre-existing condition on those cheap plans? And we would have to say for the marketplace plan, it is no. However, in those short-term plans, it is yes. We have had in our work with individuals, we have them calling individuals and they will tell them that they can give them a plan that is much cheaper than what they would have on the marketplace, and they end up, when they go to the doctor, they find they have no plan at all. It says, in which you be charged more for having a pre-existing condition. On the marketplace, that is no. But with some of these short-term plans, it varies, and many of them said yes. Now, of course, none of these are sold on the marketplace. And then what's covered? The health plans are required to cover these 10 essential benefits. However, those short-term plans are not, and it may vary with what they will cover. And it says, is care for health conditions you already have before you buy the policy covered? That is, you had some before for marketplace plans? Yes, but it may or may not be true with some of those short-term cheap policies. Can the plan include a limit on what the insurance company will pay for covered services during the year or in your lifetime? There is no lifetime limit for the health marketplace plan, but there is a lifetime limit on those short-term plans, and they can stop paying and when you still have the disease or you're still ill. And can you get assistance to lower premiums or out-of-pocket costs? For the marketplace, yes, you can, but many of those short-term plans, we would say, no, you cannot. And so now, our fourth topic then is to look that you can get help to apply for a marketplace plan. There is more help available this year. Consumers can access navigators and certified application counselors in nearly every state and county on the marketplace. To find local help, you simply go to localhelp.healthcare.gov. And to find someone local or to be connected by a marketplace registered agent or broker, consumers should visit healthcare.gov, find assistance. Consumers can choose if they'd like to browse and select a navigator or an agent or broker in their area. Or they can request that one of those individuals contact them directly to help with their application and enrollment. Consumers who choose to search through available navigators, agents, and brokers and find local help can look for a specific person or organization. They can filter results based on their preferences and services provided, including language capabilities. In so many words, you have help to get an insurance policy off of the in the marketplace. And so, our next topic is that it is easier to sign up for coverage this year, in addition to getting assistance from a navigator, agent, or broker. All consumers shopping for health insurance coverage on the healthcare, if you don't want to use an agent or broker, even those who have coverage right now. That means I'm through. But by logging in,
Continue, Dr. Tally. You're doing great.
okay. All right then. That's good, because I did not want to say this word. This is the Spanish version for healthcare.gov. I looked it up, but I'm still scared I'll mess it up. And you can do healthcare.gov. You can do the Spanish version. You can call the 800-318-2596 number, or if it's TDY, and you can use the 855-889-4325. Right. Now let's review different ways a person may obtain health insurance. They can be insured through an employer, and most are. We've seen that 47.3% of the total population has insurance that way. You can get Medicare. That means those of us who are over 65, 17%. Medicaid, 15% population, but Medicaid CHIP, 7%. The Affordable Care Act covers about 2%, or 9.1 million, and then there's others. However, with all that is there, with all that is available, there is still more than 29 million individuals who still are uninsured, and that is a shame, because they don't have to be. So what I wanted to do at this point is to hear from some individuals who are insured and to get a few testimonies. And so let's look at real stories.
I was surprised how I accepted not having health care for so long.
This is the first time I've had health insurance.
If not for the Affordable Care Act, yes, I would still be uninsured.
It was impossible to get good insurance on the open market because of our pre-existing conditions.
I was impressed that I had a lot of options on all the different kinds of plans, the bronze, the silver, and the gold, and the platinum, I think it is.
I was able to view a screen with 76 health insurance plans. If you can register for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, then you can definitely sign up for the marketplace.
Before the marketplace, we were going to pay probably 3 times what we pay now.
For me, it just came down to pure math, pure dollars and cents.
For my health insurance, I pay $65.
$21.
$15 a month. So that's pretty awesome.
I have so much peace of mind just having health insurance.
The Affordable Care Act has allowed me to literally pursue my dreams.
For me, it means that I can do both. Pay my rent and go to the doctor when need be.
So I'm alive today because of access to health care. I am cancer-free because of the marketplace.
So my name is Jennifer. I live in Virginia. As a self-employed tutor, healthcare.gov means security for me, financial security. A positive 5. As a sole proprietor, it really does come down to me. If I'm not in my chair tutoring, I am losing money.
Okay, perfect.
If you don't have healthcare, then you are pretty much one medical emergency away from bankruptcy at all times. And that's, for me, why it's important to use my healthcare for preventative measures, going in for annual checkups, well woman visits, and things like that. If you go to healthcare.gov, you're going to be able to find a good deal because there's a lot of providers and there's a lot of options. My rate actually has gone down significantly, and I can also every year choose a plan that works for me. Healthcare.gov is peace of mind.
Hey Sandra, how are you?
Because now I know that no matter what, I can find an affordable plan where I can go to the doctor, take preventative measures, and live my life.
New law, lower prices. More people qualify. Enroll by December 5th.
If we weren't covered by healthcare.gov, we are potentially one injury away from possibly losing our business.
I'm Scarlett. I'm a personal trainer and wellness coach.
I'm Tyrone. I'm a personal trainer and wellness coach. We live in Pennsylvania.
I know that we both get so much joy out of bringing wellness and making people feel whole and happy.
I think the recent pandemic that we've had has shown that we as average Americans, no matter what age, need healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Having our own business, we didn't have anybody to give us those policies, to give us that insurance.
When I was looking on healthcare.gov, I did find a plan that was affordable, and it has gone down over the last year.
It covered all the bases that we need. We have our eye, our dental, and your primary care. And it's great because having a young child, you have wellness checkups all the time. The fact that we own our own business, we have health insurance. It's two major checkpoints in life.
Healthcare.gov will allow you to find a policy to help you chase your dreams and have a peace of mind while you're doing it.
New law, lower prices. More.
And so, now that we have looked at that, let's look at just a summary of what we have gone through. The ACA has made healthcare more accessible for millions of Americans here as we get ready to go into the 2024 year. First, the ACA produced widespread gains in health coverage. Over 20 million people have gained insurance, including individuals who can stay on their parents' plan until they're 26. Secondly, the Affordable Care Act protects Americans with pre-existing conditions like cancer, asthma, diabetes. Insurance companies can't deny coverage based on a person's medical history or health status or gender or sexual orientation. They can't deny you. The law also prevents insurers from setting annual or lifetime limits on spending. The ACA focuses then on preventive care. It ensures that most insurance plans fully cover the cost for certain recommended preventive services, colonoscopies, mammograms, well child visits, flu shots, for example, are provided at no cost to the patient thanks to the ACA. And then the ACA improves health care for women and children. The law prevents insurers from charging women higher premiums than men and requires insurers to cover maternity care, breastfeeding, support, birth control, and other services critical to the health of women and children. Ladies, being a woman is no longer a pre-existing condition. And Medicaid expanded to include, for those states where it did, include Medicaid expanded, includes millions then of low-income individuals and families who did not previously even qualify for coverage. And then finally, the Affordable Care Act is better than ever. Coverage options are increasing and coverage costs are decreasing. And finally, millions of Americans were already benefiting from Obamacare and now even more through this Inflation Reduction Act. We encourage everyone who needs their coverage to begin on January 1st to enroll in a plan on healthcare.gov. If you want your coverage to begin by January the 1st of 2024, You need to then be sure your plan has been completed by December the 15th, so you would have coverage that will begin on New Year's Day, and you can start the new year off covered. Insurance companies are no longer in charge, and they can't deny you care for pre-existing conditions or put a lifetime cap on your coverage. We keep saying that no one can be denied coverage for a pre-existing condition. Being a woman is no longer a pre-existing condition, and you get access to free contraceptions and well women examination. Latinos and blacks who historically have had less access to care and greater health problems can sign up just like anyone else. All plans cover the basics: doctor visits, hospital stays, preventive care like checkups and mammograms, prescriptions, and more. Low cost and free plans are available depending on how much money you make. You can get help paying your premiums. There is no fine print in the policy, no sales pitch, just a side-by-side comparison of plans. Young adults can stay on their parents' plan until they are 26, and there is free expert help is still available to help you enroll. So finally, as a reminder, you will find additional information and resources on our NBCUSA HOPE webpage, www.hopenbc.com. And to see the plan year 2024 state-based marketplace open enrollment fact sheet, then you could visit then your internet. That is it. Thank you.
Dr. Talley, that was absolutely fabulous. Thank you so very much. We appreciate the information about the Affordable Care Act. All right. Now, we remind everybody about the NBCUSA's collaboration with NIH's All of Us Research Program. Our community is not just unique in culture and tradition, but also in our health needs. Participating in All of Us Research Program is a step towards making sure health research considers all of our needs. Visit www.joinallofus.org/NBCUSA to do it now to enroll in the program and to help make research more inclusive. #Join All of Us today. All right, this month we will see a lot of blue and purple as we observe Diabetes Awareness Month, Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, and National Caregiver Month. And of course, the American Cancer Society Great American Smokeout on November 16th. We direct you to email us at info@hopenbc.com for links to helpful resources for your church's health observances. Listen to this. November is American Diabetes Month. It is our chance to show the world what life with diabetes is really like and provide ways to manage it. Every year, our community comes together to ring the alarm on the diabetes epidemic. For the millions of us who are at risk for it, it is time to get educated, find resources, and make sure all those around us are aware of their risk too. And for the millions of us living with diabetes, it's a chance to tell our stories and to awaken the world. Until we find a cure, we will find each other and lift each other up. Now, it's time for our monthly Let's Move National Baptist Update. Sister Nettie Johnson is in your hands, ma'am.
Well, good evening, everyone. We have had just so much tremendously informative information. And in the interest of time, we're not going to take much with our update. We just want to remind everyone of the resources that are available that can definitely keep us moving for our health. Y'all, we know that time just fell back. It's getting dark earlier. It seems like the days are getting shorter and they may be getting busier as we get into the holidays, and exercise can help us with everything like self-care that Ms. Thornton talked about, from diabetes, Alzheimer's. All of these things do really have a connection where activity can help us to manage these things better. And we want to just make sure that you're aware on how to keep active. On the screen, you do see a shot of one of the articles. It's a 4-page article that talks about how we can remain active when we go through these season changes. And it even talks about how you can actually go against seasonal affective disorder. Some of these times when we feel a little bit down, a little bit slow, it may not be in our head. It can also be in our body and our hormones, because the shorter days can disrupt neurotransmitters and can cause a lot of issues, but exercise can counteract that. So be sure to check out that article. It does also include 8 free resources of different ways that you can exercise either in the community or by yourself, either out in nature if the weather does permit, or in the comfort of your own home. And all of these resources are available in Band. But that's not all. If we can go to the next slide, also inside Band, and this is where all of our information does now live and reside. There are articles and assessments. There are tracking pages. Thank you to those that are still sending in information about your movement minutes. There are additional resources as we source helpful resources to keep us moving. We're definitely sharing them, webinars and the like as well. There's your wellness workbook. And what's really exciting and we like about Band is it facilitates community sharing in a very easy way. The next screen shows a snapshot, y'all love it. It kind of looks like Facebook without all of the things of Facebook that we don't necessarily like. It is a very nice, safe space for you to get information, to share, and to actually just keep that motivation and inspiration going for you to keep moving. So our challenge is that we want to make sure that you sign on up. The next slide shows the bit.ly. If you go to bit.ly/LMNB for Let's Move National Baptist, all caps, dash with a capital B in Band, and type that in, it will take you over. We hope to see you there. Coming up right after on the other side of Thanksgiving will be our 12-day TempleCare 12, which isn't a challenge, it's a commitment. Really very intentional, doable steps that if you choose to take advantage of them, they can keep you balanced, they can keep you focused on self-care and activity as we go into these busy and sometimes challenging holidays. So we hope to see you there. That's all from Let's Move National Baptist. Y'all take care. God bless. Be well. Bye-bye.
Great job, Sister Nettie. Thank you very much. Appreciate that information. All right, we're moving right along. November is National Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. Pancreatic cancer begins in the cells of the pancreas, an organ in the abdomen that lies behind the lower parts of the stomach. The pancreas has 2 main functions. It makes enzymes that help with digestion, and it makes hormones such as insulin that control how our bodies store and use glucose, sugar that serves as the body's main source of energy. There are 2 forms of pancreatic cancer. There's exocrine pancreatic cancer, which accounts for approximately 95% of all cases, and endocrine or pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors, also called islet cell tumors. Smoking, being overweight, having diabetes, chronic pancreatitis, and certain hereditary conditions are risk factors for pancreatic cancer. The National Cancer Institute Surveillance, Epidemiology, and End Results, known as SEER program, estimates that there will be 62,210 people diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and some 49,830 deaths from these cancers in 2022. That was their last year's estimation. It is pancreatic cancer is the leading cause of cancer, as the 3rd leading cause of cancer death in this country. Moreover, pancreatic cancer is projected to become the 2nd leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States by the year 2030, behind lung cancer, according to data published in Cancer Research, a journal of the American Association of Cancer Research. All right, now, Sister Bettina will give us some updates on mental health training efforts. And then after that, we will move on to one other discussion about our health ambassador training with Sister Carper. All right, Sister Bettina, it's in your hands again, ma'am.
Good evening again. Really quick, the mental health first aid trainings will not be any until the new year. In January of 2024, on Saturday, January 13th, and Saturday, January 27th, we will have mental health first aid trainings for adults. The sessions will be $50 per person. If you are interested, you need to contact me at Bettina, BETTINA, at HOPENBC.com. BETTINA at HOPENBC.com. Mental health first aid is a wonderful course in that it helps you to understand some of the more common mental health issues and how to work with people to make sure that you either help them, keep them from escalating, or help them to de-escalate until we can get them into the appropriate care. So again, if you're interested, the trainings are January 13th and Saturday, January 27th. Thank you.
Thank you again, Sister Bettina. Great information about mental health. Now we are going to move into our discussion about the self-paced health ambassador training. In June, we launched a series of YouTube videos covering all 8 lessons of a health ambassador certification. The QR code for that is going to appear on your screen in a second. The YouTube NBCUSA Health Ministry link, I believe, is going to be in the chat as well as on your screen. I won't try to read it. It's got a lot of letters in it that will probably not be easy for you to take down. If someone can type that in the chat, I would so appreciate it. All right, we're going to move into Mr. Eddie Orum, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Sister Linda Carper is going to talk to us a little bit more about that self-paced health ambassador training, and she's going to share with us along with our visitor.
Oh, okay. So good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Sister Minor. It's wonderful to see you. The self-paced training, and I will put that information in the chat, but we'd like for you to submit your health ambassador information card. That helps us to keep track of those who are participating with the self-paced training. You can take this course. The modules include lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is module 1, the Certified Health Ambassador Training. We would love it if you complete it, but we do need your Health Ambassador information card. I will put it in the chat, and you can take this at your leisure, because not everyone can sit on a webinar, and because of our different time zones and our schedules, the self-paced training makes it so much more convenient for those who sometimes can prefer to study at night rather than during the day. So we will share that information with you. And it will also be emailed. It is with great pleasure that as we talk about health and caregiving, that I introduce to you Mr. Eddie Orum. Mr. Eddie Orum, who is a retired educator and a caregiver himself, who takes care of his mom and aunt. He is on the board of the Houston and Southeast Texas Alzheimer's Association and on the Texas Executive Council for AARP. Mr. Eddie Orum has also testified before the Texas legislature to support legislation to support caregivers. Mr. Eddie, on behalf of a caregiver, I thank you. Please welcome Mr. Eddie Orum, who will give us some highlights regarding Alzheimer's and the health of how that impacts us as caregivers. Mr. Eddie.
Thank you so very much. And let me say to each of you that I've been pleased and honored to be a part of the presentations. So much of what's been said has helped me, and I'm also involved with. I want to give you, first of all, a list of items that are important to the Alzheimer's Association, how we impact our communities, and what our goals are. First of all, let me say that my bucket list never included to be a volunteer for Alzheimer's or ARP. As a retired educator, I was going to join the Texas Retired Teachers Association. All of a sudden, Alzheimer's knocked on my door, and I simply said, come on in. I have an aunt who was someone who gave me a tennis racket when I was in 7th grade. She was very active. This was before I could even get into tennis courts in my neighborhood. As a 9th grader, I wanted to get my junior life savings licenses so I could teach swimming with her as she taught swimming in Galveston. As time went by, I realized that as I was an uncle before being a parent, she was an aunt before being a parent. So as my niece is kind of my first child, I am somewhat her first child. So when it came time to take care of her, I made sure that I did what was necessary to make sure I continued this relationship. And I want to say that our speaker was very helpful in saying that we must take care of ourselves. I translate that into we have to be mindful to make sure that we are prepared. We are, I would like to say, being an ex-4-H clubber, wanted to make sure that my best self was even better. And in order to do that, I had to do what was necessary to keep Eddie in front of the game and to make sure that I was taking care of my loved ones as they once took care of me. This is how I became a volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Association wants to do 3 major things. First of all, we want to make sure that we are involved in the latest research, the funding of research. In fact, we're the largest funder of any nonprofit in finding a cure. Our mission is to find a cure. We believe that that person who's going to survive and be cured of Alzheimer's disease is actually living today. In fact, part of the research that we are beginning to figure out how to release and to make sure that we have all of our technicians and doctors working with it is basically telling us that we're very close to a cure. In fact, we are very close to having a blood test that we can simply look at as we have our regular 6 months routines to find out how at risk we are. Currently, we know now that long before my behaviors might exhibit that I might have memory loss, what is actually happening is that my brain is beginning to show a buildup of plaque. So I have brain changes prior to actually you seeing the behaviors. And we now know that these new medications are only effective or the most effective when we have asymptomatic changes, which means I don't know that I might have memory loss. You may not know that I have memory loss, but the brain is beginning to perform in a way that says I might be predisposed to very soon have Alzheimer's or another dementia. So we believe in funding the research. We also want to make sure that we have legislative changes. Sister Carper mentioned that I testified before the Texas legislatures. We actually had a bill passed this year to actually make sure that peace officers, police officers are required to have hours of training in dementia care. So if you see me wandering on the street and you interpret that my loss of attention to you or my walking away from you is being rude or disrespectful, we want to make sure that you know, no, I'm having cognitive issues. So we want to make sure that training is there. So we want to make sure that we have respite care set up. We also were able to testify and have legislation passed to create an agency council to the extent where we can gather in our state information that's very helpful for the legislators to know what caregivers need, what other agencies are working together with such that we have one place to call. As we look at funding, as we look at legislation, we also want to make sure that we're supporting families who are affected by Alzheimer's and other dementias. We do free workshops such as training with the officers that I mentioned. We also have the 10 signs to look for Alzheimer's. realizing that all signs may not be in one person, but what do you look for? What's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Dementia is that umbrella effect, such as if I were to say to you that I have cancer, your first question would be, what kind of cancer? So we want people to understand, if I were to say I have dementia or my loved one has dementia, what kind of dementia? Alzheimer's is approximately 72% of the dementias that we have out there. We want to make sure that caregivers are supported. People living with dementia are protected and have present and current care. It's so difficult being a caregiver. What do you look for? How do you take care of yourself? How do you develop a team? More importantly, how do you have those beginning conversations with your loved ones? How do you begin to say, I think we might need an assessment? And how do you help that communications go forward? So we have the funding for research. We have advocates who want to make sure we have legislative changes, and we have family support. You want to look at alz.org, and you can put /your city and find the latest information. We also believe that you can help us by looking at some of the trials that has been mentioned here. We in our communities of colors basically are not participating in the research trials. My question was, what happens if there's a cure, but it didn't work on me because my body type and my genetic buildup was not involved in the research? So I'm currently in a research study. I learned to count at a very early age. My grandfather had Alzheimer's. My aunt has Alzheimer's, and I'm that third generation. So in the research study that I'm in, a very extensive 2-year study, I actually monitor and write down every day those lists of food items that are supposed to work for me. I also have to write down or check off those lists of foods that are not in my best interest. I'm actually monitored every day, every time through Fitbit, to where I actually have my heart rate monitored. I've actually seen an MRI of my brain. I actually do 10,000 steps a day, and all of that's calculated. And I believe that that's a very workable situation, simply because I believe my loved one is a living example. I mentioned how involved my aunt was from her exercise. When she moved into my home, I began eating what she was eating. I've actually, since she's been with me, lost 30 pounds. I feel much better at age 69. I also believe that the brain activity that was mentioned, I do brain HQ and it's monitored. I must do 30 levels each week. And that's a part of what we do in research. And it's monitored, it's checked, and we will have a long-term study. I'm actually in 4 different studies where we can see what works and what does not work. My aunt, I said, is a living example. I'll give you an example before I end. About several months ago, she said to me, are you going to be on the 2nd floor for a while? And her mobility is great. I said, yes. She said, I am going to go upstairs, turn the light on in my bedroom, so when I'm ready for bed, I'll know which room is mine. And my thought was, with the shrinking, dying brain, that's a lot of processing. I learned that she was advantaged because of something we call a cognitive reserve. Just as if you're driving down the highway and you see a hole in the road, a pothole, you're going to instinctively drive around that pothole. That's because cognitively, it's not in my best interest to drive through that hole. That is what has happened to her. She still has a reserve that even though she has Alzheimer's, her brain still functions in a way that's much better than someone who did not do the things that she's doing. So on behalf of the Alzheimer's Association, let me once again say, thank you for doing what you're doing. Please continue it. I also have a belief that we need to do more with men who care. And we're beginning an organization, H.O.P.E and Alzheimer's working together. And we're looking for other groups who might want to work with us, to where we have a group of men who are doing great things. We want to bring them together to make sure that other men can benefit from the resources, such as little things that we now know. Men are different caregivers. We as men tend to think that we can solve problems. Alzheimer's is something we can't solve. We tend to believe that we can do it by ourselves, so we don't look for resources as well as many of the women will do. We also don't grow up understanding things about nursing issues, such as a male, I didn't grow up thinking that I would have to know about incontinence issues, but I was fortunate. My father was a man who cared. And as he was a youth leader, I was one that he would take with him. So I don't have a life story to say that I want to work with other men because I want to overcome something. I say that I want to work with other men because I'm a product of what happens when you do work with other men. And my aunt at times thinks of me as my father, her big brother. And one of the greatest compliments that she could give to me, in fact, I've written a story about it. It's called, "Oh, How You Honor Me." But to be confused as my dad is a great honor, and I give him often a heavenly high five and say, "Gotcha, Dad," still. So thank you for inviting the Alzheimer's Association, and we look forward to continuing our work with you. And we have many variety of programs and presentations that we can provide to your group, your conferences at no charge to you. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eddie Orem. Sister Minor, Dr. Minor.
Thank you. That was absolutely fabulous, Mr. Orem. I apologize. I absolutely butchered your name earlier. So, Mr. Eddie Orem, we thank you. We appreciate the information. And I personally got a lot out of that because I'm a caregiver for my aunt, my mother's sister. And my grandfather too had Alzheimer's, so our situations are similar. All right, folks, this has been a wonderful night. It has been jam-packed with information. We thank all of our participants for sharing their wealth of knowledge with us. We're going to move on very, very quickly. Keep in mind that you can find additional information and resources on our NBCUSA Hope webpage, which is www.hopenbc.com. All right. Our health observances for the month of December to keep in mind: National Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month, World AIDS Day, National Influenza Vaccination Day. All right, keep in mind that our Educators Conference, Christian Educators Conference, is coming up November 27th through 29th. We're going to move on. We again want to acknowledge our entire Hope team. Team members, you guys are absolutely fabulous. We want to acknowledge our 7 regional coordinators as well. And of course, we want to acknowledge again the National Institutes of Health for the funding opportunities that they afford us. And we always want to remember our president of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, Dr. Jerry Young, who envisions the future exceptionally. All right, we are going to wind up because the hour has been well spent. We know that some of you have additional questions and comments. So we're going to formally close the webinar in just a moment. We're going to go ahead and sign off of social media. Brother Duke, if you can do that for us. Dr. Minor's doing that, I believe. And we're going to have a very, very brief Q&A. We will cut it short tonight because it is 9 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone, 10 o'clock in the Eastern. So we don't want to keep people too long, but the information has been fabulous. And we do hope to see you next month for our next TempleCare Matters presentation. Again, this has been a production of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, the nation's largest Black denomination. God bless you. God keep you.